Did you ever wish you could get inside the head of a professional trader and understand why he does what he does? And with that professional trader explaining his thought process in detail with real trade examples that trader made. Well, in this video, you get just that. Bar by bar, SMB trader Justin Spiro breaks down some trades he took with his exact thought process. I'm Mike Bellafiore, and we're one of the top proprietary trading firms located in New York City since 2005, and now Miami as well, and proud to have developed number 7 and even 8-figure per year traders. Watch, take notes, and learn from a pro SMB trader so you can grow your trading account.
Welcome back to another Bar by Bar. In this video, we're diving into some of my top trades from the first half of October. Stay tuned for part 2 next week, where I'll break down my best setups from the second half. Today, we're covering some powerful strategies and setups that can level up your trading. First, we'll look at a day 3 breakout in DJT. We'll walk through how this trade unfolded from the start of the move, and more importantly, why you don't need to be the first one into profit. A lot of traders feel like they've missed the boat if they don't jump in right off the open. We'll challenge that misconception with real trade examples. Then we'll review a higher time frame breakout in MicroStrategy. I'll show you how I expressed a Bitcoin trade in MSTR, which was showing relative strength to Bitcoin. This is a textbook higher time frame breakout where everything clicked, the trade worked immediately, and there was minimal stress. You'll see how patience at key levels pays off. We'll dive into the nuclear energy theme. We'll explore a recent day 3 breakout and discuss how you could hold one position in one name as a core while using another name in the basket as your momentum play to take advantage of intraday patterns. Finally, we'll revisit MSTR after it pulled back from its initial breakout to show you how it perfectly set up SMB's famous big dog. By the end of this review, you'll walk away with insights on waiting for the right moments, easy money trades, holding core positions, and maximizing momentum trades. Let's jump right in. First, we're going to dive into DJT from October 10th. DJT is the Trump media stock, and as we head into the November 5th election, you can see that volume has been increasing in the stock. In addition, you can see that we've broken a higher time frame downtrend, and we're back above the 50 SMA, which is this blue line here, for the first time in about 6 months. You can see the volume start to increase. We get that push above the 50 SMA, and the next day we put in an inside day on low volume. In my opinion, with the high short interest in DJT, this is a theme that is just starting to play out, and DJT could have multiple legs higher as we've seen. So you can see a strong day 1, strong day 2, and then we put in an inside day, and we're looking for the breakout over the recent high, which was 2212. Now, what I like to do when I'm looking for high volume is I like to quantify that, and I like to take a very simple approach. I look at the last few days worth of 2-minute bars, and I just simply mark off what a high volume bar would look like to me. Judging from the volume on day 1, the volume on day 2, I would consider a high volume bar on the 2-minute roughly around 750K. That way, when the market opens and DJT starts to trade, I don't have to guess what a high volume bar looks like. I'm just comparing volume bars from the last few days, and I can see that right away. So when we zoom in, we can see right off the open, we're trading 750K volume bars on the 2-minute. Now you can see the volume increase at 934, the volume increase at 936, and we're getting higher volume than the opening price. We're seeing higher volume than the 930 bar, which we typically don't see. Normally, we'll see the stock trade its highest volume bar right off the open. So this is a great sign. We break above that 2212, so we're getting confirmation of our day 3 breakout. And it pushes up higher, and then it pulls back to the 9 EMA. Start to consolidate, and that 2212 becomes support. We also see it pull back to the 9 EMA. 9 EMA becomes support. Can't quite make it to VWAP, but that's okay. And then we see it continue to support the 9 EMA. Let's zoom out and take a look at a 1-minute. So just looking at the 1-minute, we also see that it pulls back to the 21 EMA and holds, which is great. And we see in this consolidation, the volume starts to die down. It's holding well above VWAP, and I'm looking at this consolidation as an accumulation phase for a potential second or third leg of the move. DJT holds above VWAP for about a half hour, consolidates really well, and then we start to see this curl pattern. This is what I like to call a curl, and this is something that I look for on wedge breakouts. When I see a green bar followed by another, and sometimes this will play out to be 4 or 5 of them. And the way that you could think about this is buying pressure building up. And this tells me that a break of high of day or a break out of this wedge is imminent. We break out through high of day on the second highest volume bar of the morning. If we zoom into a 2-minute, we have the highest volume bar of the day, breaking out of this half-hour long consolidation after it's held our key level 2212, which was the day 1 high. This is the best confirmation that you could ask for when you're trading a wedge breakout or any breakout of a key level for that matter, and you get the highest volume bar of the day. That is the absolute best confirmation you could ask for. And what's nice about that is you could take that long and you know if this move reverses, you're wrong. Where all this volume has come in, it should not reverse. So you can simply put your stop just a few cents below that low. So the low of the breakout candle is 22.77. We could put our stop 22.74, 22.69, just below that whole number, whichever you prefer. I typically do just 2 cents below the candle. Following that move, we get a little short second leg, but this is something that I want to hold on to, given that this theme is just starting into the election, and given the fact that there's high short interest in DJT, and it's just starting to break a higher time frame downtrend. I want to be patient with this. So take the break of 23, stop goes below 22.77, and I'm being patient with it. Little volume consolidation, pulls back to the 21 EMA, and we get our third leg of the move. Starts to have trouble into this 24.50 level, can't really break above for about 6 minutes, and as I zoom out, which I like to do, if I'm seeing that a stock is struggling at a certain level, what I'll do is I'll zoom out and I'll see if it's coming into a key higher time frame resistance level or support level. When we zoom out, we could see DJT is coming into this big inflection area. We have the low from June, this support area from April, and this resistance area where it broke out from at the end of January. So it's coming into a key higher time frame resistance level where a lot of volume's been done in the past. So you can see the volume done each time that 24, 25 area level is tested. With the idea that this could trend much higher, I'm just going to take off about half of my position into this key higher time frame resistance level, and then I'm going to let the EMAs guide me on the rest of the position. Starts to break below the 21 EMA for the first time, starts to hold below, and we start to get this curl lower. The trend from the morning is broken at this point, and I'm out of that trade. But an extremely high probability, really simple setup. We're getting the day 3 breakout. The day 1 high becomes support. The 9 EMA is supporting. We're getting volume confirmation. We have a clean wedge forming. High of day is retested again, and then we break out on the highest volume bar of the day. This is an extremely high probability, easy money trade. Next, we're going to jump into a Bitcoin related trade using MicroStrategy from October 11th. Recently, Bitcoin's been holding over 60K. Historically, October and November are one of the most bullish months for Bitcoin. Seasonality is strong for Bitcoin, October and November. In addition, we're heading to the election, and recently Trump's stance has evolved on cryptocurrency. He's become more friendly, and he's now positioned himself as a supporter for Bitcoin. Given the higher time frame chart on Bitcoin, given the seasonality, October and November being one of the strongest months, given that we have the election and Trump has been more supportive of Bitcoin, we're thinking that Bitcoin could potentially run and trade to new all-time highs. What was interesting to me about Bitcoin, a few days before the trade, Bitcoin had pulled back to 60K, held for a few days, started to bounce, and then broke through 60K, which in my opinion shook out a lot of weak-handed longs, held 59K to the tick, and then the next day we got a really strong rebid of 60K, and we also had some volume coming in there. Now, if we look at MicroStrategy, we can see that MicroStrategy has been relatively strong in comparison to Bitcoin. Now we're going to compare MSTR to IBIT, which tracks Bitcoin. That's the BlackRock ETF. We could see from September 23rd, Bitcoin has a nice up move. MSTR follows. MSTR pulls back, but we get a much deeper pullback in Bitcoin. Bitcoin bounces. MSTR has a much stronger bounce, and it gets above that recent high, whereas Bitcoin can't get back above that September 27th high. So we're seeing relative strength in MSTR. So following that higher high, Bitcoin gets another pullback and actually puts in a lower low, whereas MSTR holds up extremely well and doesn't get anywhere near that recent higher low. If we look at MSTR, we can see that it's been basing for about the last 6 months with an all-time high at $200. We can zoom out and take a look at that on the weekly chart. All-time high, $200, and it's just been consolidating for about 6 months. What attracted me to this higher time frame breakout was the fact that MSTR didn't run right into the 200 level. It had a nice run, it pulled back, put in a higher low, a higher high, and then consolidated just under that 200 level for 3 days. So it's able to spend some time just below that level, and I'm stalking this for a breakout of 200. Off the open, I noticed strong volume coming into MSTR. In addition, if we just pull up IBIT tested that 59,000, traded higher overnight, and was pushing higher off the open. Strong reclaim of 60K in Bitcoin. Extremely key level there. And I'm being patient with this. Don't want to jump the gun. Waiting for some sign that MSTR is going to break above 200. So being patient, waiting for that 200 key level. In addition, MSTR has an ATR of about $36. I know that MSTR is within range of that $200 level, and it has room to break out above 200. I'd feel a little bit differently about this trade if, let's say, it was a 1 ATR move into 200. But I know, given the high ATR and MSTR, that it could trade up to 200, spend some time there, we could get a breakout of 200, and given the high ATR, we could still have room to go. Also, RVOL is elevated on this day. So with the elevated RVOL, it can move multiples of an ATR if it wants to. So we get the first push higher. MSTR, it's kind of just consolidating in this choppy range. Pulls back to the 21 EMA, holds, and what I like about this is we start to get this curl higher. Just a change, a very slight change in character in the price action. In addition, I'm seeing Bitcoin is strong. Bitcoin pulling back to VWAP, starting to push up and break highs right around the same time as MSTR begins to break out. As I start to see this curl higher and that volume come in on the break of high of day, I begin to buy my swing position. Just tier 1 of the swing position, and I'm setting my stop just below this higher low. So we have a low, a little bit of a higher low, higher low, higher low. Volume starts to come in, and I'm buying tier 1. We get this clean consolidation above high of day. Price is also holding that 9 EMA really well. We're consolidating just under 200. And I'm starting to add to my position as I see the 9 EMA hold. Finally, we get the break of 200 on elevated volume. We have the second highest volume bar of the day through 200. Second highest volume bar of the day comes in through a key level right at 10:54 a.m. High volume, one of my favorite checks in favor. Great confirmation there. We also have Bitcoin trading to new intraday highs. Add the last of my position here, and I'm going to treat this as a swing trade. I treated this as a swing trade knowing that we were breaking out of a 6-month base. Bitcoin is strong. Seasonality is strong for Bitcoin, October and November. And we also have the election, which Bitcoin could run into as part of the Trump trade. Given that it was a Friday, there was another way to trade this, which I would just want to talk about briefly. I know a trader who didn't want to take a higher time frame stance on this trade, and given it was a Friday, they simply bought the 30 Delta 0 DTEs through 200, and they scalped it out for almost triple, and they made their money that way on this trade, which is perfectly fine. For me personally, I see a 6-month base breakout of a very clean level on volume. I have Bitcoin in favor. This is a trade that I want to hold on to because it could have multiple legs. So when I'm in a swing position, I don't like to overanalyze every 1 and 2 minute bar. I'll typically zoom out to like a 5 and a 15 and watch it that way. And this is a trade that I was willing to hold. We got to pull back to the 21 on the 5. We're consolidating higher throughout the afternoon. We get another breakout into the close, and MSTR closes on highs. That is absolutely what we want to see on a day one higher time frame breakout in order to take the swing into the next day. We want to see strong volume on day one, and we want to see that stock doesn't necessarily need to close on highs, but it should close within the top 20% of its intraday range. And we also have Bitcoin closing right at high of day after it's pulled back to that 59K and reclaimed 60K. Now, this was on a Friday, like I mentioned, and historically, Bitcoin has had big moves over the weekend, and I was quite comfortable holding this trade over the weekend. I was in from a great price right out the key breakout area, and we could see on Monday, we walk into this beautiful gap up. MSTR gaps up, and I sell half of my swing position. In addition, just something to think about is with this gap up, it's getting a little bit short-term overextended, but I want to try my best to hold on to this trade. We don't know what could happen. Anything could happen now that it's broken out of the space and Bitcoin is strong. So a good strategy that I like to use, which I learned from my mentor with swing trades, is if you're worried about giving back profits, simply wait for the first half hour's low to be put in and set your stop at that first half hour low. MSTR puts in that first half hour low, reclaims VWAP, and has trouble breaking above this pre-market high. What's also catching my attention is that IBIT is now relatively strong in comparison to MSTR, which is a complete change in character. Right, so we're seeing Bitcoin make new highs at 10 o'clock, pulls back a little bit, starts to make a new high in trend at 10:20. All the while, MSTR is stuck below VWAP, which is a little bit unusual to me. Just a change in character from what we've seen. As it fails VWAP, I start to piece out of my position until I'm down to 25% of my swing position. MSTR tries to reclaim VWAP one more time, fails, and I'm stopped out below the low of day on the remainder of my swing position. Next, we're going to dive into the recent nuclear energy theme. OKLO is one of the nuclear names along with SMR and NNE. So recently there's been headlines such as Google on October 14th, Google signed an agreement to buy power from small nuclear module reactors to help Google meet the increasing electricity demands created by AI. That was on the 14th, where some volume started coming into these. Then on the 16th, Amazon signed 3 agreements for nuclear energy projects to address their growing energy demands, also related to AI. We know that AI is one of the hottest themes in the market, and we're sort of getting a secondary theme along with AI. Now all these AI projects need more electricity, more energy, and they're looking towards nuclear power. Something that's interesting is that this OKLO has a 12% short interest. 12% of the float is short. In addition, SMR has 22% short interest. So given this theme that's evolving here, and given the fact that it's related to AI, these could squeeze. OKLO ramps up on high volume. The next day, we put in an inside day on lower volume. And similar to the DJT trade we went over, I'm looking for a day 3 breakout. If we look at SMR, very similar. Strong move on the 16th with the Amazon announcement. Puts in an inside day, and we're looking for the day 3 breakout. So on the 21st, I'm game planning for this day 3 breakout, and I simply put an alert at 1775 and 1680, which was the day 1 high, and 1775, which was the after hours high from that really strong day 1 move. Put in an inside day on low volume. We can consider that an accumulation move, an accumulation phase where big money is continuing to buy, and we're looking for the day 3 breakout. Off the open, I get my alert in OKLO. I type in OKLO, and it's already about 40 cents from where I want to buy it. So I don't want to chase. But something that I noticed is that volume is increasing into the open. Like I said, we typically see the highest volume bar of the day at 9:30, but we're seeing volume build and build and build. What I do is immediately type up SMR. What I notice is that while OKLO is starting to trend higher and volume is building, SMR pulls back below the previous day's low, reclaims on high volume, and we get the down through open setup. The stock goes green on the day, and as soon as it goes green on the day, I'm entering my long position with the stop at low of day. Now I'm thinking I could treat SMR as my swing position, and I could look for secondary trades in OKLO. So I'm in SMR from great prices. It's confirming to the upside. We're seeing that volume build. And I'm thinking this could break those recent highs at 1975, and I want to treat SMR as my swing. Looking back at OKLO, now I'm thinking this could be my momentum play. SMR could be my trade to hold, and I could look for momentum trades in OKLO just to generate some cash flow while I'm sitting in SMR and letting it work. SMR breaks that after hours high from day 1, and that after hours high becomes support. You see we're wicking into there, rebidding, wicking into there, rebidding, rebidding, rebidding. In addition, we're holding the 9 EMA really well, and we're starting to develop this wedge pattern. In addition, as it starts to hold that key support and starts to consolidate and build out that wedge, we're seeing volume start to die down. So no real selling happening in here, more of an accumulation phase. 1 minute, we see that buying pressure start to build. We start to see that curl form. We break high of day. I'm starting to buy this. Starts to curl higher. I'm adding to my position. I'm adding to my position. And the stop is simply below the low of this wedge. We see that volume start to come in there. Perfect confirmation, volume confirmation is one of the keys to all of my best trades. Again, I'm treating this as my momentum trade. So as it starts to work, starts to push away from that 9 EMA, I'm just starting to sell my position into this momentum. We take a look back at SMR, starts to push up a little bit, and what I do is I just simply zoom out, and I can see that this is a clear resistance area on the 15-minute. Every time it trades into this 1920, 1950 area the last 2 days, it's had trouble there. See that happened into the close, in the after hours, 4 a.m., pushed past there, off the open the previous day, into the afternoon, acted as resistance. So as I'm watching both simultaneously, I'm saying to myself, okay, SMR had a really strong move off of that low, that rebid, that back through open. It's starting to get extended from the 9 EMA. Let me take off a quarter of my position. Now I have a nice profit locked in. There's absolutely no way I could lose on this trade, and it becomes a stress-free swing trade. Back to OKLO. We get one leg of the move. We get the second leg after the wedge breakout, which I'm scaling out into strength, scaling out into momentum, treating this as my cash flow stock for the nuclear theme. And then we start to see a second setup build. We start to see another consolidation form, although not as clean as the first one. But typically with moves like this, you'll get a first leg, a second leg, and then a third leg, which tends to be a little less clean. So I'm being patient. I see a recent low form. I see a higher low start to form, a higher high, pulls back to the 21 EMA, starts to curl up, and I start to buy it. Stop is just below this consolidation. Had a pullback, looked like it was going to pull back to VWAP, immediately rebids, and it's holding up really well. I'm looking for a third leg of this move. Start to buy it in here. Buy the breakout of highs. Starts to extend away from the 9 EMA again, and I'm just taking that scalp. Really clean $1.50 that I'm scalping out of as it starts to extend from the 9 EMA. Following this move, OKLO, typically after one leg, two legs, three legs of a move, we'll start to see some pullback. OKLO breaks trend. Looking at SMR around the same time, pushing past that after hours high from day one. Start to see this curl lower. Start to see that selling pressure build. Starts to break trend. And I'm exiting my position on the break of this trend. First break below the 21 EMA. And I'm out of that trade. Could also see if we zoom in, tries really hard to hold above 20. Tries to rebid, and then ultimately ends up breaking down. Once I see 20 start to fail, starting to have trouble holding 20, starts to break below 20, I'm going to begin taking some profits before we get that fast 21 EMA break. All right, and we'll wrap up this bar by bar with the big dog trade. So MSTR has the breakout of 200, ends up pulling back, gets a little bit extended, and then starts to hold below 200. Looking at IBIT, Bitcoin had a nice move higher, and it's just consolidating gains for a couple days, and we start to break out of that recent high. Looking at MSTR, we reclaim that key $200 level, and we're holding above really well. If we look at IBIT, doing a good job holding over VWAP, Bitcoin pretty strong on the day. We could just draw our simple wedge. Really nice wedge forming for about an hour and 20 minutes or so. You can see that we are holding well above 200. We pull back into VWAP and hold. Price starts to tighten up, and we start to see that curl out of the wedge. As soon as I start to see this curl, I begin buying, volume confirmation, and then I'm keeping it simple here, and I'm just using the 9 and the 21 EMA to guide me in my trade, high probability trade, and I'm taking a high probability exit with that trade. So start to break below the 9 EMA, start to hold below, and I'm out of that trade. Now, looking back, I probably could have held the piece given that Bitcoin was breaking that recent high, but this was the first time that we were seeing strength come back into MSTR after that change in character, and I wanted to be on the side of caution. But again, just another simple high probability wedge breakout, volume coming in on the wedge break, and we're starting to see that curl pattern which we went over in quite a few wedge breakouts today. Thank you for tuning in, and look out for part 2 on the second half of October's trades.
So you're an active trader, not doing as well as you want, not doing as well as you deserve, and you just can't figure out why you can't become profitable no matter how hard you try. Well, let me show you why. This is your competition. The traders in this room.
This room right here is full of elite traders, some of whom are making 7 and even 8 figures a year. In fact, our top guys have made nearly 20 million each in net trading profits in a single year. Let's head to my office so I can share more. So you're probably used to seeing videos of lavish trader lifestyles, trading gurus trading off of a laptop for an hour a day, heck, maybe even 15 minutes a day, and then them relaxing on some secluded beach for the rest of the day. Well, all I can tell you is that our traders train like pro athletes. They live and breathe the markets and are continually working on their trading skills. Because at our firm, that's what we found it really takes to make it in this game. I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder and managing partner of SMB Capital, one of the world's top proprietary trading firms located in Midtown Manhattan. And we're always looking for trading talent to hire and develop. And not just to trade in-house on our desk, but also to trade from their own home, entirely using our firm's capital. And we have numerous traders doing just that, allowing them to make upwards of 7 figures trading the firm's capital without risking their own money. But to even get a shot at something like that, you need to have the right training.
That's why we're doing a new free online presentation in which we share how you can get an interview with SMB to become an in-house or remote trader, trading firm capital without risking yours and gaining access to all of our firm's coaching and resources. And the best part, you don't have to be a profitable trader yet. In fact, we prefer to mold profitable traders with our methods and our techniques. That's why we have just 3 simple criteria that can earn anyone an interview. We're looking for highly ambitious and determined traders who fit our culture first and foremost. So if you believe that could be you, sign up for the free 1-hour online presentation by clicking the link that's in your top right corner of your screen now.